Hi, besties. This is Lita and Shabana on Bestie Vibes Podcast. Thank you for tuning in on today's episode.
Welcome back, guys. We're so excited to share today's topic with you guys because this one is something that we have struggled with, having strict parents in the Western countries. And is it fair for the kids, to have strict parents coming from the Middle Eastern countries to the Western countries and being strict on the kids? We're really going to deep dive into it and talk about it.
Well, define strict for me because strict can mean it could have a different definition for a lot of people, a lot of families. Parents have one definition of strict and kids have their own definition of strict.
So for me, it's bringing the rules from other countries and applying it here on the kids so much. Because let's not forget, it's a totally different country and different lifestyle, different rules. So you can't really go too strict. But by too strict, I mean is like when your kid, they're either brought up here, born here, you bring them from a different country, they find friends here, like they have neighbor friends, they have friends at school, and they're constantly comparing themselves with different things, going places, doing things, and if they're too strict that, they can't do everything because I'm trying to be protective, their parents like, I'm trying to be protective, or where you
we weren't raised like that, right?
We weren't raised like that. Like they're trying to compare themselves to us, and I really don't think that's fair for the kids in these countries because it makes them feel like they don't fit in, with the environment, with the society.
I agree. I think what it makes them feel like is they're either not like, they cannot consider themselves like a full Middle Eastern or like a Middle East country individual would, or they cannot call themselves a westernized person, so they're kind of caught in the middle and
juggling in the middle
exactly. And that's what happened to us. When we came from like a different country, we moved to Canada, our parents had certain restrictions, certain rules that we had to follow, which I'm grateful for because obviously it led us to a beautiful life. And I don't have any regrets, but it was also very hard living throughout those years, not being able to do certain things that my friends were able to do, 100%. Or not even being able to hang out with certain friends because I had different curfews than my friends. I let go of a lot of friendship. I let go of a lot of things that I would be able to do in my 20s that now I wish I did, but I couldn't because our parents had those rules and restrictions, and now we are parents and now we understand our parents more than ever. But then is it really fair that if we try to do the same thing on our kids, because we have experienced it, so only we would be able to understand our kids, but as parents,
but mind you, Lita, we got lucky because we had each other. We had like the school we went to, there was a lot of like Afghans, like we have talked about in an earlier episodes, so we were lucky. But some people are not, so they come in this country and they're put in a classroom where there's nobody to talk to, like that,
nobody that they can actually relate to, and that has this like similar standards or principles or rules at home that their friend would understand. And a lot of rules that we have or we set for our kids or that were set for us, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes that's what I call too strict, right? Like for example, some families, they don't allow their kids to talk to their friends on the phone. And when I say kids, I'm not talking about like my 5-year-old daughter or so, but I'm talking about anyone like over the age of 12. Like obviously, or like having phones, that's every parent's discretion and their choice of allowing their kids to have a phone at age of 12 or not. I still don't know how I feel about that, but at least you can give your phone and let them communicate. You can monitor, or just letting your kids have a play date. I'm against play dates that's just alone, like my kids just going to someone else's house alone. If someone else feels comfortable sending their child to my home and having a play date with my daughter, totally fine with that. But if they want to come in, I welcome them. But I will not let my child miss out on that life because I'm strict, because I don't want it or I don't feel comfortable. I'll just watch her from like a distance.
Because in that age, they don't look at it that way. You know what the problem is? Because that happened, to a lot of people that I have talked to, and they always talk about, oh, my parents don't trust me, or they have trust issue, or I'm not heard, I'm not supported, I'm not wanted. They just like, they feel like they're not like visible or, to their parents. They want to speak, but their voice is not getting heard from their parents.
And it's so hard for parents to even explain how they feel, because I didn't understand my parents back in the day when they had certain rules that I had to follow. And, I to be honest with you, me and my siblings, we never made a big problem about it. We kind of just went with the flow and just kind of listened. But nowadays, kids question everything
Of
that
course.
you know, every rule, everything you tell them not to do, they question. And day by day, because of technology, because of what we eat, because of our environment, kids are getting more aware.
Yeah.
So they ask more questions, and you have to have a response.
Yeah.
And if your response doesn't make sense, they will question your response again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I think it just gets harder for us to explain. But as kids who went through such a cycle of having strict parents, of not being able to do certain things, we are, I think, in a little bit of a better position to understand where our kids are coming from.
Yeah, because
right?
we've been through it.
Because we've been through it, so we kind of know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But as parents, it is
Yeah.
also our duty to protect them.
100%. I don't disagree with that at all. But I'm saying being too strict also gives the child the opportunity to do more bad things. And I have seen that before, because we were not raised with too strict family, right? We I think we were in the middle. In the middle.
We kind of met in the middle.
So, we were happy because we had all of like each other, a lot of friends and family. So we were all good because we all went, like we had we built this community that we're all, like you said, relatable to each other. We understood each other, so it was good. But again, we also saw the parents that were so strict on their kids would go behind their back and do certain things that we used to think, oh my God.
I remember in high school, we had a lot of those friends. I remember in high school, we used to skip school and go to the library and or go to the nursing home and just talk to the elderly and just make conversations like that. They used to love us. Like, we literally had friends in the senior home who would look forward for us to just come and talk to them. That was our fun. That was our oh my God, we skipped class or we skipped school. We felt so cool about it. We felt so good about it. But it was just such an innocent way of skipping.
And if we lied to our parents, you know what it would be the lie for? Going to the mall. We would go to the mall and then tell our parents, like we were at school. We'd skip to go to mall sometimes too. But that was like our biggest secret. And we would be so scared to go back home because we thought if we were caught, we would get caught and we're in trouble.
And it's funny because we would end up telling, like, I would tell my mom all the time whenever I did something. I would just be like, yeah, Mom, we went to the mall, you're gonna get a call. But it was more of like telling her after the fact. But it's because she obviously had trust and she knew where we are and where we're headed. And now I hear stories like from my parents where my dad used to hang around our school during lunch just to see like our whereabouts and who he hang out with. And like he kind of built that a trust after seeing us like a couple of times. He realized like what we do, what we're up to. And if we're up to no good, obviously if we skipped school or if we had, absence and all, or bad friends, I'm sure they would have been a lot more strict. But we knew our limits and we knew what like we can get away with and what we shouldn't do. And for me, it wasn't about like being scared of my dad or being scared of my mom. For me, it was the respect that I had for them, not to hurt them and not to do something wrong to make them feel like hurt or broken. 100%. And I think that's important. Like as a parent, we need to focus on building that relationship with our kids so that they're not scared to tell us when they do something or when they have, they're in a problem. I think they should have that respect. And they should be able to not do it just not because they're scared of us or whatsoever, but because they don't want to be in a bad situation.
And it's also self-respect too. So the way I looked at it, I know we were in our teenage era, but I also had like a lot of self-respect. I don't know if it came from our elder sisters where they were our role models, so we looked up to them too. But I also thought my body, my personality, everything will change if I start hanging out with certain people or do certain things. So we were so mature for our age. I think now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God,
like we had the opportunity to be, I'm not saying to be bad kids, but to do certain things that a lot of kids will sneakily do. Like we said, like we did skip school, we did go to the mall like without our parents' consent and we told them about it afterwards. But that was our way of like oh my God, my parents are strict, let's kind of like go away and do these things. But then there were other kids, like you said earlier and pointed out, in our school where the parents were so strict that they would go home for lunch, they would be picked up right at like 3:10 before the bell rang at 3:15. 3:10, like 5 minutes before the bell, their parents would be like parked right in front of the school to pick them up. Like they literally had like a minute or two to go to their locker, grab their jacket or whatever they need to grab. But those people were the ones we would see with our eyes who would skip and hang out with like the wrong group of people, hang out with multiple guys, and it was
take off their scarf as soon as they came to school. Do you remember those girls that would literally just come to school, take off their scarf or whatever they were wearing? They would run to the bathroom, put on their makeup. So if if your child or if individual person wants to do certain things, they will do it behind your back. So that's what I have learned as a parent, just to be like not strict parents, but be more their friends. Because like if my child will have certain personality and wants to try things, I'm pretty sure they will do it sneakily. But if I'm going to tell them in a way that it's going to be more coming from like a friend, like, don't do this. Not only that, but the reason behind it. Or like if it's going to affect you, I didn't do it because this reason. But with certain family, they don't do that. They just set up this strict rule and
without explanation and just expect their kids to just follow while being in 2025 in a different country, expecting their child to live like how kids were raised back home in 1990s.
It's not fair.
It doesn't work like that. We have to understand what kind of boundaries and what kind of rules we're setting, and does it make sense? I think the bigger question is, does it make sense to you, and will it make sense to your child?
And every child is different too. I think, also comparison is the worst thing you can do when you're raising kids or when you're being strict on kids. Maybe your daughter likes to wear modern clothes, certain makeup, but her cousin doesn't want to do it because that's her personality. So, just being strict, don't do this because people will say something, or I'm being strict because of my own personal reason, is totally a no-no. It's wrong. It's the worst thing you could do to your kids. So I really don't think it's fair for the kids to, just be super strict on them in these kind of countries. Let them live, let them, let them be happy. And like we said earlier, like if you don't allow your children to go certain places, do certain things, do it with them, You just say, hey, like if you notice certain things, just hey, let's go for a walk and have good conversation with your kids. Try to be there for them as much as you can, because that's when they don't need friends. That's when they don't want to do anything back behind you.
I totally agree with that. And it's so beautifully said, because when you're your kid's friend and when they can trust you and they know that you're not going to judge them, you're not going to have like really harsh consequences for their actions, they will continuously respect that about you, and they will come to you for, whenever they have problems or when they want to try something new or when they want to do something, they will come to you. Sometimes there will be kids that will continuously complain and say, no, you're too strict. Like, I'm not allowed to do this. I hate my life. I hate this.
I hate my parents. Exactly. That's not easy, honestly. Like, I think we talked about this in another episode, raising kids. It's really not easy to raise kids, especially when they're in their teenage years. I think it's the hardest because, you're trying to struggle how to deal with them in certain ways. But again, I personally think the best you can do, at least you can try different things, but the best thing you could do is give them your time. Give them your time, respect them, understand them, or maybe, like try to understand what they're looking for. Is it something that it should be okay to deal with, or is it really you're protecting? So sometimes it's the parents' ego too. I have seen families, just because of their ego, they're like, once I said no, it's a no.
And that's when conflicts get even worse, because then you get too stubborn and you're just stuck up on your word, and then your kid is getting stubborn as well because they know you have no grounds for your reasoning. So I think it is really important to know where you're coming from and to make your child understand. I know their brain is a lot more, it's not at the capacity to understand. You only understand your parents when you become a parent, but all you have to do is get to their level and explain to them in their own way, and not say like, I didn't do it, so you can't do it.
Like we didn't go on any vacation when we're in our like 20s, when we're younger.
Or 30s.
Much younger. We didn't get to do that. And now when I look back, like I wish we did.
I 100% wish I did, because it's a good experience. I think the two experiences in my life that I wish I did is like traveling with a group of, trustworthy friends or cousins, and maybe living alone, but not like for a long period, but maybe when I was in school, like when I was in university, just living alone, maybe for a year of it, just because it's a kind of experience you'll never get back. But I know my parents had their reasons why they wouldn't do that, and I can understand that now because I have my daughter, and thinking about her traveling, I don't want her to be like in school, forget traveling, like it makes me so anxious.
Yeah, but you also got to be understandable, like, you know, when their time comes, when they're gonna be in, you know, their teenage life, when they're gonna be in their 20s before marriage, they want to do certain things.
So if she has a group of friends or cousins, like if she's going out with her guy cousins, and you know there's a group of girls and boys, but obviously cousins and
everybody
very, very
that you know and you trust,
that I know and trust, maybe I can think about it. You know, obviously if my husband's also on the same page, because this is not my decision alone, it's not his decision alone, it's our decision. And if we can trust that my daughter is, you know, in a good situation with a good group of people, and she's going to a safe place, maybe that will be a conversation we can talk about, and we might be open to it. But to your point, because we didn't do it, I didn't do it, I do have regrets, and I don't want my daughter to have regrets. But I do understand how my parents felt and why they wouldn't allow that when, you know, we were at that age.
Let's go back to it's being too strict fair for the kids.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And we have experienced it, like we just talked about, and I hope
your kids will understand one day.
Because if these parents are so strict and they're bringing the rules and everything from back home, I think they should just stay there. I'm sorry to say this, don't come to this Western country and just follow your own rules only. Look at the situation, look at the, you know, the environment around you, the circumstances, like everything has to, like, you know, be taken into consideration, instead of just having this ego and my rule and my way, and I'm the father.
That's how we did it.
I'm the father, I'm the mother, I need to speak. You're just not going to build a good relationship.
My child, and they have to listen. They live under my roof. They have to listen to my rules. Like, I get it. We all have rules. We all have ways of raising our kids. But to your point, if you're going to make it so harsh and make that environment so difficult for your child, they're not going to be happy. They're going to do what they want to do behind your back, and they're not going to be happy like in that environment at all.
And the best win in life is to raise a good child. Exactly. That, you know, people see and be like, oh, is this your kid? Good job, you know. All right, guys, we enjoy talking about this because this is something that should have been, like, obviously talked about, and we want to get your opinion. What do you guys think? Is being too strict good or bad? And let us know what you think. Please comment below, subscribe to our channel, don't forget that, and send this video to your friends and family to watch us and support us. Thank you so much, guys.
We look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.